Hey y'all, I'm Game Gear 585 and this is my review on Marvel's Spider-Man 2. Spoiler warning, before watching this video, play the game. It's been 3 months. You should have played the game by now. Oh man, what an amazing game this is. I don't even know where to start, so let's just start from the beginning. This is what I made my channel for, to review Spider-Man 2. This is what I bought my PlayStation 5 for, to review Spider-Man 2. This is what I've been waiting for since the first Spider-Man game came out and since the split sequel game came out. We've just been waiting forever and now it's finally here. So let's stop talking about what happened before it came out and let's just start talking about what it is because it is out. And now that it's out, and I've spent the last 3 months poring over it, I can happily say that this is the definitive way to play Spider-Man. I am so happy that Insomniac Games decided not to put it on the PlayStation 4, because this game was built for the PlayStation 5. It feels really smooth in 60 FPS, and the haptic feedback and adaptive control triggers when you're swinging. Man, the amount of work Insomniac Games put into this game is amazing. Being able to see the world in 4K with ray tracing looks awesome. Now for gameplay, let's just start with the swinging. You are so fast in this game, so darn fast. The swinging is very smooth as well. Now with the web wings, they're good, but I don't like how forced you are to use them sometimes. I think they're used too much in the game. If it was more balanced, then I would rate movement a 10 out of 10. But those web wings are used too often. Spider-Man is a web swinger, not a web flyer. Speaking of flying, you should fly over to that subscribe button. Just saying. The new combat, it's not really new, but more like it's been added on to. The new ability wheels took me a while to get used to, and I almost never used my web gadgets, because I had to click L1 to use my abilities, so I never used the web gadgets. But during endgame, I just clicked them both at the same time to get rid of the symbiote enemies, because they're really tough. The new abilities are so cool though. However, I will say that I don't really like the spider arms that Peter Parker has in the beginning, only the ones that shoot electricity. The symbiote ones are so much better. Same for Miles. Once I got his blue electricity attacks, the Venom abilities went out the window, and I never really used them again. The attacks also feel really powerful, and I like comboing up the abilities and gadgets to maximize my damage output. Like if you use the web grabber and then Miles' teleporting lightning strike, you can hit multiple enemies at the same time. The only problem I have with combat is that if I press the square button once, then for some reason I do multiple attacks when I should have only done one. It's a weird assist setting that I can't seem to get rid of, and it caused me to die multiple times during boss fights, because the boss would do a heavy attack, and I couldn't parry or jump away because my character was still fighting air. If you have a solution, let me know in the comments. Speaking of parrying though, I honestly never used it till endgame. It just felt weird and unnatural, so whenever a boss did a heavy attack, I would just jump away. But now that I've beaten the game and done crimes to get used to parrying, I will say that it's very useful. But if they haven't added it in the first place, then I wouldn't really have cared. The boss fights in this game are so cool, so cool. They remind me of the boss fights in God of War Ragnarok because they're so hard. They're harder than Odin. And that was a hard boss fight, people. Believe me. I must have died at least 50 times in boss fights alone. No! I like how they added health bars because you can see how much damage you're doing. I like boss fights because it forces you to adapt, and dying is part of it because you get to learn and recognize the patterns of the boss. It also helps if you have played the 2 games prior to playing this one, so that you already know the basics of combat. I'm so glad I played Spider-Man 1 on Ultimate Difficulty before this came out, because it made the transition to this game not hard at all. But stealth, on the other hand of combat, wasn't very prioritized in this game very much. They had a lot of additions to combat, but when it came to stealth, they basically give you a cheat where you take the web line and you just create your own web lines, hence the name web line, and then you can just do inverted takedowns. And I mean, it's too easy. Once you unlock the double takedown, it's basically child's play to take down a room of 20 guys. The only hard part of stealth was the MJ missions, because I played them before they patched the 1 hit and you're dead on a higher difficulty problem. But even if I didn't die in 1 shot, it would still be hard. I like that they gave her a gun and made it a little more interesting, but they still weren't really my favorite parts of the game. But I enjoyed stealth in the last game, so I enjoyed it now, in this game. The side quests in this game are absolutely amazing, top notch. They are not as many as there were in the last 2 games, but quality over quantity over, am I right? They're so well thought out. I like the side quest where you find someone's grandpa, because it leads to having a really good conversation between Grandpa and Peter Parker about love and relationships. I also like the one where he plays Haley, and since she is deaf, all of your audio is muted. It's really cool of how the team at Insomniac Games designed a mission to put you in the shoes of someone you can't hear. The story in this game is top notch, brought to the highest level, took in the basics of the first game, which was already a 10, and took it up to 11. Some of the comedy was very funny, and while it wasn't sad enough to make me cry like a baby, some parts had me speechless and a little teary-eyed. I like the way the Lizard was handled in this game. The Lizard played a monumental moment, not only the story and a massive set piece and a good boss fight, but it also shows you the effect the symbiote is starting to have on Peter Parker. I also like the way Mr. Negative is handled in this way. It helps further Miles Morales' arc and how you don't have to kill people to get revenge. Instead, you can team up to them and they can help you later on. But Kraven was one of the hardest boss fights I'd ever fought. And his story about how he enjoys facing a good challenge and how he has to find someone who's worthy enough to kill him is just so messed up. And then we have Venom. His role in this game is of such an importance, and I like the way they made it to where you get to see Venom towards the end, the real Venom, but you do see the effects he has on Peter Parker and everyone else during the beginning and middle of the story. It makes the lead up to his arrival so much more exciting because you understand Venom's motives and everyone else's motives to fight him. And the boss fight between Miles and Peter Parker is so good. It's like if Spider-Man had online multiplayer and you were going against someone who had a really high level, because Peter fought the same way I would have fought if I was controlling him. But the one thing I can't wrap around is the fact that Venom has wings. Big freaking wings attached to his tiny, tiny body. Big to everyone else. It seems so unnatural, but not what I expected, and yet it made him look so cool. And the story, I'm just going to say it was awesome. Go play it for yourself. It's amazing. Now, I played this game the wrong way. I made all the main missions and saved everything else for last. Don't do that. I suggest doing half and half. A main mission, then side content, then main mission. Do this or you'll be at 90% completion feeling burned out. I only have the Kraven Outpost, Spider-Bots, and Slipstream missions left. And if it's repetitive, boring, it makes me dread booting up the game, even though it's amazing. Don't do what I did on my first playthrough and just take your time. Holy moly, you can play as Venom in this game. It is so cool and such a surprise when it happened. I was like, whoa. And boy, was it fun to wreak havoc on Norman Osborn's goons. It wasn't hard. The developers were like, take a break from the non-stop action you've been experiencing and just have fun. And again, I was like, whoa. That boss fight with Kraven you have is so easy. It's like Spider-Man went up to Kraven and took a beating. Then Kraven goes up to Venom and Venom looks at him, puts his hand on his shoulder, goes, hey. And then Kraven explodes. I will say that Venom eating Kraven's head off was a little extreme in pushing this rated teen game ever so close to end for mature audiences. Spider-Man 2 is a fantastic sequel to the already good game Spider-Man and Miles Morales were. The combat has improved, the swinging has gotten faster, and the boss fights have gotten bigger. If only they improved stealth and mobility a little better, and the problem with the square button, this would be a 10 out of 10. But since that is only 3 minor deductions compared to really big positives, then I'll give Spider-Man 2 a 10 out of 10. And that is my review on Marvel's Spider-Man 2 for the PlayStation 5. Please comment on if this is your favorite Spider-Man game out of the trilogy. And let's try to get to 50 subscribers by the end of this year. Please like, share, and subscribe. This is Game Gear signing out. P.S. Happy New Year's.